Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Relax.Cut.Glue. If you're new here, welcome. I am so happy to have y'all here with me today. So I was asked in my comment section if I could please do some more of the Sharpie creative marker art on magazine images. So you ask and you shall receive. Today that's what I'll be doing. I am using my Sharpie Creative Markers. I have the original set in brush tip and I have the new set in bullet tip. And I will say, I don't know if it's just the bullet tip or if it's the new colors, but they seem drier than my first batch of pens that I got, the original in brush. So when I did the video reviewing them, I thought it was because they were brush tip. Maybe they weren't as juicy. But then in the comment section, somebody mentioned that they thought theirs seemed drier. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that was because they were bullet tip, not brush tip. Maybe that's why they were drier. They definitely seem drier. My first original set seems way juicier. I don't know. Maybe it's just us. I have no idea. But I really do prefer the brush pens. And that's just a personal thing. There's tons of people out there that prefer the bullet. Thank goodness they add both. That way we're all happy. So this is my little tub I have here, and this has both my original set in brush tip and then my new set in bullet tip, as well as like a gold paint pen from Amazon and stuff like that. So I need you to remember when you're doing this to trust the process, as well as while you're watching this. I did cut out a bunch of the tedious little things. So these colors that I used were fairly light, and I go over my image twice with whatever color I'm using. And if it's a very light color, sometimes I have to go over it more than once. I'm also not the kind of person that likes to have a bunch of little lines in there, so I try and make it so you can't see like the brush marks and stuff, but you know, whatever. I had such an issue with her nose. I changed it so many times, and there are so many things that I would have done differently with this, but I do think it turned out okay, and I had fun while I was doing it, and honestly, that is all that matters. So when I'm doing this, so I was over drawing her eyes because I like to give myself enough room to draw everything in there. Now, she had really tiny eyes, and now looking back, I think I would probably make her eyes bigger than what her natural eyes were because she was like squinting, but you know, I just followed her natural shape and her eyes. And then I drew these like drips. I thought that'd be kind of cool, but then this drip is too close to her nose and it was bothering me the whole time. You know how it is. But I told myself, Nicole, you have to trust the process too. So I did, and I just played. I had a movie on, and yeah, I just kind of sat back. Now, when I'm doing so I did the little white part of the eye. I always do that before I do the rest of the eye because I have to do at least 2 coats of the white just to kind of clean it up and make it look really bright. But I skip around the face because I'm kind of letting things dry as I'm working on something else. So you'll see me kind of bounce around a little bit and not quite finish one area. That's because I'm letting the paint dry. And you'll notice with these, they are slightly chalky. When you are going over them, if your pen is like kind of like having some resistance of going over that paint, it's because your paint underneath isn't dry yet. Make sure it's all the way dry and then go over it again for a second coat, and it'll be like smooth like butter. It'll be super easy. So I decided to go with the darker blue down below. Now, this is the bullet tip. This one was really juicy. I found that it was the light yellow and the light green that seemed to be the driest for me, like the more pastel colors. The darker colors seem very juicy. So like this one was great. I loved this one. And this is from the new set. Really, really nice. I really like it. So I decided to go with blue down here. I always like to kind of contrast the face. And remember, these are not supposed to look like normal people when you're done. I mean, unless you want it to. But basically, these are supposed to be abstract, kind of interesting little creatures. You know what I mean? They're not supposed to come out looking like they did before you started. So have fun with it. Make it weird. Make it fun. If you don't like making it weird and fun, then don't. Make it pretty and gorgeous and have a good time. So this is like a very peachy color for, it would be a great skin tone, I think, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more pink. And I was using it as eyeshadow. And I just, it actually worked out good because I didn't want it to be too bright anyway. So that was a happy little accident. But it looked a lot like a skin tone, so it was kind of tripping me out a little bit. Here I am going over the nose again. I keep having to wait for it to dry so that I can come back and like clean it back up again. And then I decided to just go with the face color under the eye because originally I left that open so that I could have more space to draw our eyes. But yeah, I always do green eyes, almost always, because my eyes are green and I love green eyes. So I cover the whole thing and then I'll come back in with black later. It just makes it easier. And then I come back again and go over her eyes. So I go over everything at least twice. But that's just a me thing. You don't have to do that. You totally don't have to. You don't have to do anything I'm doing. You can just do your own thing. So now I'm going to go in with her teeth. And I'm trying to leave her teeth as much the same as I can. So I did leave her little gap that she has in her teeth because I thought that was unique and I wanted to keep that. So I did, keep her mouth as true to form as I could. I did go over her teeth twice. I'm looking at them right now and I could probably go over them one more time. So when I'm done with this, I realized, okay, so normally when I do this and I'm done, I go around everything in a fine tip black marker, just to kind of make everything come together. Okay, so here's where I decided to try something different, and I'm using the black brush tip that came with the original set, and it's so juicy. Like, I was shaking because I was trying to hold my pen up a little bit so I could just get like the tip of the brush pen and not make the lines so thick, but it was so hard for me. My hands were shaking so bad. So yeah, now she has a lot of eyeliner on, which is fine. We don't judge. We don't judge around here. And now I'm going back in and going over the lips. And I just decided to go with a bold red because she had great juicy lips. And so I just went with, the huge, went with a red. I think her mouth turned out the best, honestly, out of everything. Okay, so anyways, back to the black pen. I did like it. However, it came off a little thicker. I like to use a little bit of a thinner line. And so I kind of struggled a little bit. Some of the details later did not turn out how I thought they would because the pen was a little thick for me personally. And my hands were just too shaky today for that. So I think like it's done. And I'm looking at it right now, but I can tell I want to go through with that fine pen and kind of go through and clean up some of those details and make it look just a little bit better after that. Now I came in with this light blue and it was very light. I had to go over this, I think 3 or 4 times. This is one of the new colors and I went around the face with it too. I was thinking about doing something and then I didn't. So I'm going to cover that up in just a little bit here, but yeah, that light blue was really light. And I'm using magazine, so everything is very dark on here. So if you're using a pastel color, it makes sense that you would have to go over it a few times because the paint is very light. So now this is the thing I love about these pens is I don't freak out if I overcorrect or I make a line too thick because I just wait for it to dry. And like right there, I went back over again with my purple, which was her face color, and went around her eyes again and took that black back just a little bit and made the line not so thick. So that's the best part about this. Don't worry if you mess up, just let it dry and then you can paint right over it. These pens are great for that. That's one of the things I love about them. They are so easy to work with and so fun. So that's what I do. If I mess up, I just let it dry and then I go back over it. And sometimes I change my mind as the design goes on and I decide that I don't want that element anymore and I just change it or paint over it or whatever. So, and her ears were like only partly showing and I wish I kind of did something differently with them. But again, hindsight is 20/20. When you're all done, you can see how you can change things differently. Oh my gosh, a crow just flew by with a massive French fry in its mouth. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. He's loving it. That was funny. I think he got the French fry from my neighbor's trash. Okay, so now I'm going in and I am drawing a little flower on her head because I'm obsessed with drawing flowers on the faces. I did it one time and now I can't stop. I draw them every time I do this. I draw a flower on their face. I just like it. And by the time I'm done with this, I'm looking at her right now and I'm thinking of her as like a lady who loves her garden who also has allergies because her eyes are like half closed. You'll see what I mean here when we're done. This is just really so relaxing and fun. You should totally try this. If you have these pens or any kind of paint pen, personally, I feel like if you've never used a paint pen before, using the Sharpie creative markers like I'm using would be the best bet. They're the easiest I have found, but we're all different, so you might not find them, easy like me. I like them better than Posca personally, so I don't know. It's just everybody's different. So I also have very inexpensive pens, and they're fine too. So just, use what you have. But I do think that these are very beginner friendly. I will say, though, I've never used a brush tip Posca pen. So there's that. I'm just obsessed with the brush. I love the brush tip. It's just so easy to use. So now I'm going to start coloring her hair. And I always change the hairstyle, almost always, in my girls. I don't know. I like to just make it different. And so I kind of go with the guide of their hair, like around their face and that kind of stuff. But I always usually turn it into like some kind of bob or something. I don't know. Plus, I usually cut these out and put them in my art journal, which is what I'm going to do with this one. So I just always cut their hair shorter just to make it look more interesting in my art journal. You can see more of like the backgrounds and stuff if you don't have hair going all the way down. And I did have to go over her hair twice. And then I do come in with some other colors with her hair here in a bit as well. Oh, it's so juicy. I love these pens. I love them so much. When you're doing this kind of art, I feel like you either have a really good day and you do it really well, or you just kind of struggle. At least for me, like some days I do it great. Other days my hands are shaky. So like I said earlier, all that matters is if you're having fun. And I totally had a blast. Like I said, I had a movie on and I was kind of hanging out with my dog. My dog's not feeling very good today and he's very clingy towards me. So I was, that's why I did this today, so I could make sure that he was feeling okay and I could kind of keep an eye on him. He's 10 now, slow down a little bit. And then I went with these like rosy cheeks because I don't know, why not? I've never done it on one of these before and I wanted to try it, so I did. It's interesting. But again, I love abstract art. It is absolutely, hands down, my favorite type of art to do. So I like it when things are kind of funky, and I love Picasso. Love him. Okay, so then I decided I needed something on her chin, and I didn't want to do another flower, so I was like, what do I do here? I'll do a sun. So that's what's going on down there. And I started with the blob of the middle of the sun, and I knew it was going to take several coats because I have that dark blue there. And it did. It took several coats to have it become more of a opaque color there. Drying. We are drying. These pens dry very fast, but I'm also super impatient. So I just made sure that I had my heat gun on hand so I could dry these in between. These take a very long time, which is why I do voiceovers when I do them, because they take they take me a long time. I don't know about anybody else, but they take me a long time. I'm also super picky and anal, and I hate it when things are messed up, so I go over it a million times, and you know how it is. I try to trust the process and let it go. I do my best. And now I'm just adding like a little bit of a design to her neck because that looks cool. And I didn't go over it twice, even though I should have. I still can. It's in my art journal, so I can go back and kind of clean things up a little bit. But yeah, I really like the way this is turning out. And now I'm going in to add some of the lighter green. This is what I love about having both sets. I have now some lighter colors to the darker colors, so I can add some highlights or low lights or whatever, you know. So, oh my gosh, I'm talking like, can you tell I'm a hairdresser? Highlights and lowlights. Not anymore, though. I'm not a hairdresser anymore. I am licensed, but I don't practice. I mean, that's a lie. I cut my family's hair every month, but that's it. So I just kind of go through. I went over my lines again because as it was drying, you could barely see it, which was fine because it's not supposed to be, you know, it's just supposed to be a little texture in her hair. And then I thought, I need more texture. So let's go in with some more color. So I came in with a darker teal after this from the original set, which I love. I've used this color a ton. And I'm also using my gold marker to make her earrings. I'm just following the same shape. Now, if you don't want your person to have earrings or something on their body that they already have, don't put it on there. Paint over it. I've done that so many times. Like, oftentimes I'll give them my own type of shirt, or, you know, even if somebody's wearing sunglasses and you don't want the sunglasses on there, paint over it and put eyes. Super easy. Okay. I left this part in because this is sped up and I'm so freaked out about using this black pen. Like, I seriously had anxiety over it. I know, you guys know. You know how I am. So I'm like, just do it. Do it. Go for it. Do it. All right, there we go. Good girl. I was so scared. And it was so slick because it was so juicy and it was just gliding across the paper, which, one, super satisfying. Two, also terrifying. I was like, oh my gosh, if I just slip up and then I was like, do I go over everything? Do I go around her face? It kind of slid right there. And now I was like, this was a bad idea. I should not have done this. I was like totally freaking out. I'm like, why? Why? But then I was like, okay, just stick with it. Trust the process. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do it. The sun started shining through. It's been pouring all day. And then the sun came through and was like blinding me. The flower turned out good, though. I will say that. The flower turned out really good. So using the black pen actually, despite being scary for me at first, ended up being just fine. I think in the future, I will use it to outline things, and then go in with my fine tip black pen. That's not a paint pen. It's just a black pen, and kind of go through and go around things that have finer details so the line's not too thick. Like my son, the lines were too thick for me. I didn't like that. So I wish that well, I don't wish. I'm glad I did this because I learned from it and I needed to do it to know how I felt about it. And now I know that I do like it for going around bigger items, but I prefer my more fine tip pen for going around smaller things so that I don't make the line too thick. And that's just a personal preference on my end. You can do whatever you want. You don't even have to outline anything. I just do it because I feel like it looks better in the end. But that's just a personal preference. So don't worry. Do what makes you happy. Like when I'm done here, I'm going to go back through with my fine tip pen, I think, and go around her teeth and maybe a few other things. I mess up the ear right here and then I forgot to fix it. I should have left it like that. And I didn't. There we go. See, I should have left it like that because it was like halfway behind her ear. So I'm just going to go back with my paint pen and kind of go over that part. I'll show you here in a second. So I decided to give her a little nose ring, and I went around it with black. It's really hard to see unless you're seeing it in person. Ooh, it's looking so cute. Look at her. There's the teal I was talking about in her hair, and I love how that looks. In person, it looks really cool. You know, you just add more color, more dimension, more interest, more things to look at. Now I'm going to cut her out and stick her in my art journal because that's what I do with them. You can do whatever you want to do with yours. These would be cute to put in your junk journal or something too. I did have a little bit of a bigger face, so if you have a smaller face, it might be easier to do for you. Some people, it might be easier for a bigger face. I like to have this size. This size is pretty good. All right, art journal, here we go. It's a composition notebook that I just paint things on with acrylic paint in the background, and then I add my stuff. Decided to go with this page here. Glue her down. She is living there forever now. And then I wasn't sure if the paint was still a little bit wet, even though it wasn't. I knew I dried it, but I did that on the opposite side, so I didn't like scratch my paint or anything. This is a magazine, so you want to make sure, you know, you don't like scratch away the paint. And now I'm just taking some flowers and giving her a little crown. All right, everyone, while we finish watching this, I'm just going to close out this video. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good time hanging out with me. I had a great time hanging out with you. I hope you give this a try. It's really, really fun. And just remember that you have to trust the process and you might have to go over your stuff a couple times. I hope you guys have a fabulous day. Don't forget to drink your water, give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, friends.